at the Nashua High School North Lecture Hall. It's Thursday, July 27th, 2023, and 7 p.m. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Alderman Dowd?
Present.
Alderwoman Wilshire? Here. Alderwoman Clee?
Here.
Alderwoman Timmons is not here. Alderman Sullivan?
Here.
Miss Raymond?
Here.
Miss Lamfair?
Here.
Bishop is here. Miss Gilio?
Here.
Mr. Claffey?
Here.
All present and
Okay.
accounted for.
Very good. Now we'll have the clerk please read the prayer, and Mr. Claffey, would you please lead us in the pledge?
Almighty God, we have the high honor and serious duty to manage the educational affairs of our beloved city. Fill us, O God, with a spirit of unity and understanding, which enables us to face our multiple problems with a serene mind, with justice and charity for all, so that any and all decisions made by us will always be for the betterment and greater happiness of all of our fellow citizens. So help us God. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If there are no objections, I'd like to waive the reading of the minutes of the June 22nd, 2023 meeting and place them on file. Remarks by chairman. Thank you for everybody being out. We seem to have ducked the severe thunderstorms, so that's a good thing. And we have a few things to cover this evening, so we'll get right to it. So remarks by school administration. Sean, anything?
Nothing at this time.
Okay. The items for discussion, invoices. The first item on the agenda for discussion is the architect's report with Harriman. Jamie?
Good evening, everyone. Jamie Willett with Harriman. I did pass around a memo tonight to kind of give highlights of ongoing tasks that Harriman's been involved with at each of the schools. At the Brian S. McCarthy Middle School, we still continue to review submittals and RFIs that are coming in, as well as on-site investigations. A couple of design items that are still ongoing. The first is the furniture design is continuing on July 20th, which I think was 2 weeks ago, a week from today. Harriman participated and helped lead a tour with Dr. Andrade at the McCarthy School, which included the new principal as well as many other members, maybe another half a dozen or so from the school team. Part of the task was to familiarize them with not only the school itself, but for the purpose of reviewing the school furniture and then other planning discussions that they have ongoing. Went very successful. I think people are very excited to see the spaces as they're developing. And I think it served well to give them a good sense of what the furniture is going to populate inside of there. And then following that, on the 25th, this past Tuesday, we did have our another round of furniture discussions where we reviewed some additional areas that we hadn't quite gotten into for the furniture selections, and then revisited a lot of the previous discussions to make sure that we were hearing loud and clear what the expectations were. So that was a successful meeting. I think we're close to the end of kind of the in-person meetings on that. We are looking at doing a few renderings to help do some color selections and just a little better general understanding on a couple pieces and a couple areas. The goal right now is to finalize furniture packages for the end of the summer, so we're looking at late August. And then at that point, we will be issuing that out for bidding purposes by vendors, and with a probably an early to mid fall bidding coming in, and then furniture installation right now is looking like it's based on discussions with Harvey that it would be like early to late. I guess mid, it's like February timeframe, so like mid-winter, they would be ready for start to populate the Area C part of the building, And then that progresses, every month or month and a half or so as we get in closer to August for some of the other areas. So we're working on the finalizing the scheduling, but it is proceeding as planned. We're also looking at McCarthy Middle School finalizing the details of the receiving and trash recycling collection. I think I've discussed that a few times during, actually, I'll say that again. Finalizing the details of the receiving and trash recycling collection areas on the site itself at the building. We've been talking about that for a couple weeks now, or a couple months now, and we've had some further discussions with the facilities department, get a better understanding on how they want to operate that little courtyard in the back, and are making a few adjustments to that. So we'll be issuing documents for that. I think next week is what it's looking like right now. We want to confirm one more time with facilities before we hit the send button. Over at the Pennachuck Middle School, we did participate in a meeting for a discussion about swapping the bus loop and parent loop. There was a meeting held earlier this week that included school administrators, city personnel, traffic engineers, as well as us. There's ongoing efforts are underway to review the viability to allow for that additional parent queuing. So where it is now, there's been some concerns on occasion, I guess, that there's not enough queuing lane. And so there's review of flipping that so that the route around the back would provide additional queue space for parents, especially as the population grows at that school. I think is one of the concerns with the addition of those additional classrooms. What we are seeing since COVID has happened, parents are just tend to be bringing their kids still. It is, many didn't stop kind of doing that. It's kind of changed the thing. So the amount of parents that are dropping off tends to just be higher than it's kind of been pre-COVID, as well as other factors that seem to be changing with time. So in that, we're not, nothing's set in stone yet. We're investigating, making sure that we understand how it will operate and how it would work, and make sure that all the, the pieces get ironed out before that kind of suggestion moves forward. But I did want to at least bring it forward so that people are aware that we are investigating that at this time. So I know that Alderman Dowd wanted to speak to something.
There's about 20 engineers involved in this, and it's just to make sure that everything is done correctly. We'll have more to come back to you on that once some of those decisions are made. Everybody feels it will work, but there's a few changes we have to make, like the bus loop off of Manchester Street that comes in, that emergency bus loop, emergency access and bus loop, will only be emergency vehicles only, no parents. But we've got to get the timing of the traffic light correct. We had that, I guess it was a lightning strike that took out the timer for the triggers out of the school and out of Ferry Road. I know I have some constituents that were concerned about it always being red. And now that it's blinking, I just want to make sure that people know it's not going to stay blinking forever, but it will be triggered so that if there's no one wanting to get out of Ferry Street or no one wanting to get out of the school, the Manchester Street light will stay green. So because of the timing of the light and the changing of the thing, we also had to bring Vanessa back for a small part of this to make sure that the timing of the light is correct with, get that all done. So also there at Pennachuck, I don't want to steal Harvey's thunder, so I'm not going to mention anything else about Pennachuck because I'm sure you're going to cover it, right, Ken? Okay.
The other thing we're reviewing is like the signage, because if it does flip, there'll be obviously signs that have to be moved and swapped around. So that's part of the thing that we'd be reviewing if that decision is to make that swap.
And just so you know, we had police department, fire department, city engineer, city traffic manager, 3 people from Vanessa,
Public
school
Works.
department, Harriman, Harvey, it was complete. Yeah, we had about 20 people on the call, and it was run out of City Hall with Sam and Matt Sullivan, so. All right,
Flipping over the sheet that I handed out for Birch Hill and Maine Dunstable Elementary Schools, Harriman is continuing to engage in reviewing a very active phase of submittals and questions from the field as work's really gearing pretty heavy right now in those schools. And we've also been to the site on numerous occasions for inspections and reviewing the ongoing work. So it's looking pretty good. I know summers are always tight for contractors, so they're scrambling as much as they can to get it there. And I have no doubt they'll make it ready for the first of the school year this year. On 55 Franklin Street, same deal. We're kind of continuing reviewing any submittals that come in and questions from Harvey, as well as ongoing site visits at the site over there. That's it.
any questions for the architect? None, we'll go into construction manager report from Harvey. Ken?
Thank you, everybody. Ken Lemarier, Project Manager, Harvey Construction. I did hand out some hard copies, and I did distribute these items last week. Kathy and I will give a quick update on Pennachuck, Fairgrounds, Brian McCarthy, Maine Dunstable, Birch Hill, and then Kathy will do an update on Franklin Street at the back half of this presentation. And then I've got a few PCOs for Maine Dunstable, Birch Hill, and Brian McCarthy. So feel free to ask questions as usual, and as I run through this.
Ken, before you do the PCOs and stuff, we have Matt Smith from EI that can talk about this construction stuff as well.
Of course. Okay, jumping, first of all, so we have wrapped up pretty much everything at Fairgrounds and Pennachuck, but there are a few late addition items that were added as part of whether it was the Brian McCarthy budget or the Pennachuck Middle School budget. So I'll just run through those items that are going on at this moment. So we are installing some architectural and steel safety bollards at the Pennachuck Middle School site. That should be wrapping up over the next week or two. Should be completed well ahead of teachers returning. And I know teachers will start to kind of filter in probably the third week of August to get their classrooms ready. At the same time, at both schools, both tracks are being resurfaced. I believe Pennachuck should be wrapped up by the end of next week, weather pending, and Fairgrounds is probably around that same time frame. I'm also going to be scheduling, we're going to be painting all of the existing wood trim that is located at the pitched roofs at the existing school, kind of help kind of spruce up the existing building next to the new additions that were completed last summer. And we'll also, I'm going to be lining up a contractor to wash the existing brick face that was, there was kind of some splashback from the existing drip edge and the previous landscaping that was in place. So kind of tie the new building into the old building and a little more nicely. And then this past week, we're working with Turner Building Sciences, who's the commissioning agent for Pennachuck Middle School, and our control tech, who's doing all the controls to tie in the new system and the old system. So we're working through the commissioning process, and seems like we have that pretty well wrapped up and should have that closed out before the new school year starts. So things wrapping up nicely over at Pennachuck, and we're also probably gonna have our landscaper go over there once everything's done, the track and the bollards, and do one last cleanup of everything else that's on site. Any questions of Fairgrounds and Pennachuck?
Okay.
Okay, jumping over to the McCarthy Middle School. So I'll do a quick overview of what's going on outside and inside, and then I'll show a few pictures. Not a whole lot has changed since last month. We're in the kind of the production phase that we're turning over each floor. It's going to kind of follow the same sequence as we've been going through. So starting at the exterior of the building, we did add some additional guardrail at the new D'Antonio Drive driveway coming in. There was some concerns about kind of a steep grade and a sharp turn, so we did review that with Alderman Dowd and DPW, and we decided to add in some additional guardrails, so that was installed last week. All of the seating and the infield mix and temp irrigation at the baseball and softball fields has been installed and is in place, so now we're just working on establishing the new grass for this year, and then eventual another grow season next year. Fencing's also in progress, should be wrapping up over the next week or two. Building envelope-wise, which is kind of everything on the outside of the building, the air vapor barrier on Area A, which is the kind of the main entrance portion of the building. Everything else is completed on areas C, B, and D, so we're kind of working our way around Area A. Inside, so all the windows and curtain wall, kind of working our way around the building, get weather tight before the cold weather wraps in. So we should be well enclosed for heating season coming up here in September and October. Moving into buildings C and B and D, kind of all those buildings are at some stage around the same point. Finishes are ongoing. Buildings C and B are pretty much in the same state. You'll see kind of a general photograph of what a student commons looks like. We did have a nice tour last week on site, as Jamie mentioned, with I believe the new principal was there and various members of the building committee. So it was another good opportunity to show everybody the progress there. Jamie mentioned the furniture will probably be tracking for early spring next year in Building C, so that we're pretty much ready for punch list, which is allow Harriman to go in and inspect each floor, give us a list of items to address to make sure that it's ready for the district's group to get in, including IT, furniture, et cetera. So I should have plenty of time for everybody to move into the space and have it ready for 2024. Building A, all the boilers were delivered last week, including all the air handlers. They're all on site and in the mechanical rooms. Framing and masonry is ongoing inside Building A, and the kitchen, learning commons, plumbing rough-in is currently in progress. So right now it's we probably have about 25 plumbers and mechanical workers in the back boiler room in A, getting that ready for the heating season this year.
Just a couple things. One, that's an old picture because the grass has already been mowed around the track. And there's a lot of other grass that's been planted. Basketball hoops are up with no backboards on them because we don't want anybody playing basketball this time. And a lot of the fences, as you mentioned, a lot of the fences are up. Also, we'd had some calls from the people on Medallion about their sidewalk and the fact that it had fall grass. And I talked to that's a city street. That's not part of the school project. I talked to Direct a Photo, and all that grass has been cut and mowed down, and the sidewalk is usable again. But I think also probably in early September, we should probably have this group do another tour of the McCarthy School.
One item of note here, kind of just south of the photo here, the new the fire department's emergency access gate is being installed this week and next week, and we'll be finalizing and wrapping up the new cobblestones and roundabout in Cherrywood Court over the next 3 weeks or so. So
Right.
we should be wrapping up everything kind of away from our site.
When that traffic circle is put in, the city DPW, I believe, are the ones that are going to be putting all the signs up with flaggers. There'll be limited access. You can't go drive through the traffic circle. So 2 weeks before, by city ordinance, is notified, there's signs that go up that say you're not going to be able to drive through when they're doing the traffic circle. But it's not that many days, actually, I don't think.
It's 2 days.
2 days.
There will be access to the homeowners will have access from a Medallion here, so obviously they'll be able to come from Cherrywood, but.
Or I'm sure a couple of us would be getting phone calls if they couldn't get to it. And one other thing, when we did the tour, Stacy Hines was with us, and she took boatloads of pictures, and she sent some of them up, but I think they're on the website. So if you want to see a lot of updated pictures, those are pretty recent.
Here's one I heard.
Sullivan?
I thought we were finished with McCarthy. Sorry, I was hoping that we could just talk through the flooding issues that we had this week, kind of what caused them, what we're doing about them. So I don't want to step on your presentation, but I'm hoping before we move on to the other properties that we could talk about that
Sure.
tonight. Thanks.
You want me to cover that, or?
Sure. I can jump
All
in.
right, we've, the initial part of the thing that prompted some of the emails were moorings inadvertently when they were pumping up. On the softball field, it was one of the drains that was clogged and it developed a pool. Well, they got to plant grass, so they can't do that. It's full of water. So they pumped the water out, but initially they were pumping it over the hill, which George, the site manager, immediately went down and said, stop. And they put the drain into one of the drains that goes into one of our swales. So that stopped that water. And we have a bunch of people, including Matt Sullivan, involved in the drainage. All of those homes along Cherrywood have a drainage easement, every other house that was put in when they did the development. And some of the people have blocked them, so it doesn't come down. But evidently in that one, it's still open, but we can't affect that. But we're looking at ways that we might be able to reduce the flow. The design, which has been approved by DES, Army Corps Engineers, is it can handle 6 inches of rain in 24 hours. We've had some pretty good tests of that lately, but we're going to be doing something to help that out. But right now, in fact, I get about 8 pages of discussion back and forth with Sam from Harriman on alternatives to help them. There may be some cost involved, not a lot, but we'd have to get it approved by this committee, but we're working on it.
Okay.
And one item just to kind of further that is, as part of any construction project, whenever you disturb more than a certain square footage of land, we're required to have a stormwater pollution prevention plan, which is monitored by a third party, and in this case, it's Hayner and Swanson. So after every rain event, they visit the site and inspect the entire site to make sure that we're adhering to that plan. And that plan is basically in place so to make sure that any water that's discharged into the outside system is clean and filtered. The downside of it is we're not really going to have, even though the design system is in place per plan, you're not really going to get the full productivity because we have those stormwater prevention plans in place, silt sacks in the culverts, erosion control. So we really aren't going to know how well it's functioning until the project is over, because due to guidelines, we're supposed to have those in place. So that's, and that combined with the abnormal rain events that we've had lately, it's been kind of a perfect storm.
So Hayner Swanson, as you said, every time there's a major rainstorm, or any rainstorm actually, they develop a report, and those are one of the people we'll be paying tonight. And they give us pictures, and they are complying with the fact of what we designed for DES and Joint Specialists. I mean, Army Corps.
Okay.
Any other questions? Moving on to some photos. So I just have a couple quick overview photos here, so you can see the progress on Building C for the concrete tactile panels that they're working their way around to Building B now. So they've since rounded the corner here, so you can kind of get an idea of the design of one of the elevations of the Area C. This is a photo that Stacy Hines took last Thursday showing the cafeteria progress and kind of the view of where the Learning Commons is, and kind of I guess Jamie would call those like nooks that you can kind of look down from the Learning Commons.
Collaboration box, the kind of collaboration rooms above, which kind of act as soap boxes down to overlooking down onto the, not soap boxes, but overlooks down onto the stage and the cafeteria, so.
And the stage is over here to the right of the photo.
Also, is the grade that goes in the center, Jamie, between the two Sides, the black, looks like black, is that, or is that already the gray?
Yeah, it's already the
Tactile.
tactile
Yeah.
panel that's
And the other
installed.
thing that's missing that's not on there yet is there are sunscreens that go in every window, right?
On the south and west side of the building, there are sunshades that will stick out and protect, the majority of that sun coming into those prominent sides.
And this is brick right here.
Yeah. Oh, yes, Heather?
Is that the final exterior? And the inside looks gorgeous. The exterior is really challenging to look at. So that's it? And how much of the building is being covered with that? I guess I didn't realize how extensive the accent would be.
The nodes like you see there have that patterned tactile panel. As Ken was saying, like in the back, there'll be like a red brick. A lot of it will be red brick coming around that courtyard area back there, as well as in the front of the building.
I will try to reserve judgment, but it's really hard.
Not too dissimilar to what's at Pennachuck, actually.
But Pennachuck is pleasant to look at, whereas this is like Minecraft exploded on the hill. So, yeah, I'm not excited about this.
Oh, and there's grass and landscaping, everything else, maybe.
I think when you see it combined with the brick and then the metal
Red brick,
panels,
yeah.
it kind of generates a pattern as you get around. You can get a better look if you, next time we're on site, the other side of that building has a completed brick face. You can kind of take it in better. And then here, the lower right photo is a kind of an example of probably a 90% complete student commons. This is in the lower level of building C, so just missing a few coats of paint and some wall base, a couple of items here and there.
When we showed this to the principal and the two vice principals from Elm Street, they were like, their minds were going like 400 miles an hour trying to figure out how are we going to use all these spaces. And they said, you got a little ways to think about that, so.
Okay, moving over to Birch Hill Elementary and Maine Dunstable Elementary. So I kind of combined the two schools here because both of them are in roughly the same state of the project. So right now in the summer, we're really focusing on getting the portable classrooms at the exterior. So these were the classrooms that were relocated from Elm Street. So those moves were completed at the end of June and the first week of July. So those have been set and are in place. I will let Matt Smith will kind of give you an update of what they're doing, but they're mostly complete, hooking the utilities up to the portable classrooms. We started the ramps, the wood ramps and stairs and skirting over at Birch Hill, and then next week we'll jump over to Maine Dunstable and wrap those up. And then we have some curbing that we're going to be installing to kind of help with water runoff at Birch Hill, and then temp paving at each school to kind of button things up before school begins. So we're looking to go have a temporary certificate of occupancy probably the second week of August. Should give the school staff at both sites to get in and get those classrooms ready for the end of August. And then jumping over to we do have 5 classrooms that are going in each gym, temporary classrooms. So basically you can see we put down some thick plywood to preserve the gym floor that will get refinished in 2025. So the in-wall rough and inspections are fairly complete. Again, I'll let Matt speak to his items, but I believe those were completed this week. All the framing, we are adding insulation to those walls to kind of help with the sound because they're kind of adjacent classrooms in both gymnasiums, and the drywall's going in this week as well. After that, next week, we're going to be priming and painting and putting all the finishes and kind of getting those ready for early August. And then again, temp certificate of occupancy, second week of August. Give the schools enough time to.
Quick things, do we want him to discuss this school before we move on? Or do you want him to just cover both Maine, Dunstable, Birch Hill, and Franklin at the same time?
I'll just jump ahead. I'll show a couple photos here. So at the interior of Birch Hill.
Request.
At the interior of Birch Hill and Main Dunstable, so the other phase that we're focusing on is that we're turning over in the fall, the cafeteria, and then there's some 3 new toilet rooms, an office, and teacher's lounge, and that's all on the first floor. So there's quite a bit of work going on in there. You can see the photo here in the middle. Matt's crew had to rework an existing 10-inch roof drain that had to be relocated. So this is kind of it's one of the items that Jamie mentioned, doing site visits of running into unforeseen things, working with us to come to a resolution and not hold up the project. So it's been a good flow of information to keep everybody moving. So at the roof, we're working on all the steel reinforcement that's in progress at both schools. We should be complete that next week. And then Matt's crew has the roof curbs coming, I believe this end of this week, early next week. Once those come, we'll get our roofer on board and get those tied in, and then when his units arrive, we'll get the final hookup completed.
So, as I mentioned many times, unknown unknowns, which are expenses we didn't intend that are covered under contingencies. That floor on lower level on Birch Hill is built on granite, and they had to chop up the granite to put these new pipes in.
Yeah, all those trenches are hand dug, so it's been tough digging over there. So for both of these, for this phase 1, over the next 2 weeks, there's a lot of major milestones that are going to take place. Backfill all the trenches, placing the concrete, wrapping up our framing, in-wall rough for Matt's crew, performing all the inspections, drywall, the miscellaneous finishes. And then one of the major milestones for the Harvey crew is getting all of the new storefront glass entrances for the cafeteria and the teacher's lounge. So again, we've been tracking this all along, and we're going to be getting a certificate of temp occupancy at the end of August. So that's the goal for that. And then phase 2 over at Birch Hill, it's the 4th grade and the kindergarten level. Kindergarten's in the lower level. And then at Main Dunstable, 3rd grade, upper level, kindergarten, lower level. Those aren't turned over until February, so we're well ahead there. Just kind of working on getting our underground taken care of and getting the temp walls in place for when school starts. With that, we'll be walking EEI, Harvey, Mr. Smith's, and Mr. Lassard will be walking with the fire department and the building department well ahead of school starting to make sure that any of their concerns are met ahead of time.
So we got a couple of POs coming up later, but one I know the Board of Ed's going to be enamored at is we're putting in bullet-resistant glass on the first floors of both schools. Got a really good price on.
I'll turn it over to Matt before we jump to.
That.
Hi, Matt Smith with the EI. A lot of this is going to sound redundant after Ken kind of laid it out for you, but big push this year has been all the utilities for the temp classrooms. As you can see, we've been working hard to get a lot of the underground plumbing in. It isn't just underground. We've got quite a bit of rough in with new ductwork, new plumbing pipes, new electrical. All the MEPs are going to be, we demoed out all the old, we're installing all new. So again, we're focused on the same areas that Harvey is. We're working in their space and working the same phasing as they are. So the temp classrooms outside, the temp classrooms in the gym, and then that cafeteria area, trying to get those ready for school to be opened. But everything's pushing along. Ken was right. We have some of the curbs have gone on the roof. Some showed up today, and then we have another shipment coming Monday afternoon. We'll get the last of the curbs up on the roof for the first area, and for both Birch Hill and Main D. So that Harvey can have their roofers come in and flash those in, and then we can set the units on top and get some air flowing for the kids when they get back. So that's a big part of what we got going on now.
So, and the principals are working hand in hand with both contractors as they're going through this and the phasing, so they're very happy with the way everything's proceeding.
Yeah, we do have I failed to mention that, we do have a meeting scheduled with both principals at each school on Monday morning to just kind of run through again what to expect on day one, where our contractors are going to be, what time do we arrive, and then address any concerns. So it's kind of a good smaller forum to appease any concerns or questions that they might have. So we'll be doing that along with Matt's team as well on Monday.
Yes,
Thank you. So I remember at both Pennachuck and Lesso at Fairgrounds, there was quite a bit of work that you guys did to make sure that the workers were separated from the students. These are much smaller schools, so what kind of separations are you anticipating?
fortunately, there are plenty of doors,
Yeah.
so they go in through the door, and in the phasing, the sections that they're working on are totally isolated from the rest of the building. Ken, you want to elaborate?
Sure. So I will include a phasing plan because I think it'll be a good timing because the next JSSBC will be right before school opens. So we were able to section off the building well enough where we had our own entrances for our subcontractors. So we're not going to be in the school at all, unless they're escorted by a Harvey personnel or similar to what we did at Fairgrounds or Pennachuck. So
Okay, great.
to further what Alderman Dowd said, we're fortunate enough where we have our own entrances at these projects where we can kind of separate a little easier than what we did at the other schools.
Great, I appreciate that. I'm just thinking also of the impulsivity of, 6 and 7-year-olds versus 12, 13, 14-year-olds. It's a little more challenging for your guys, so.
They'll actually be more isolated at these elementary schools than they were at Pennachuck.
Good. I like it.
Any other question? Okay, Kathy?
Matt, you want to go first?
Then she won't have to say what you cover.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. She won't give it all away first?
Flip to the next one, Ken.
So this year this summer, this phase of it is a lot less than last year. So our primary focus this year was getting all the windows replaced. They worked the front of the building and then moved to the back. And as of today, they were installing the last 3 windows. So they went real nice. The windows look great. I think the teachers are going to be extremely happy with what Harriman spec'd out and the mechanism for the awning. It's nice and easy to open, and it should help with in those swing seasons, giving them some fresh air to open up and ventilation. So we're now working on. We have just about all the sills done on the first floor, and then we're going to be moving up over the next week or two up into the second and third and getting the sills finished out and trimmed out on the inside. And then we'll have some painting and some patching and stuff to do from just the demo of the old and getting in the new and getting everything back to ready. And then the only other big thing that we have for Franklin Street is we got the condensing unit started up. So we're starting to cool the building, and that will be nice for the teachers and students when they come back next year for cooling in the building. So the condensers are all started, and everything seems to be controlling pretty nice at this point. So that's the big stuff. And then we got a couple little punch list items working out with Mr. Smith and his team to get everything completed and buttoned up for the school year. So that's it on my end, unless anybody has any questions.
Any questions for EEI? Kathy?
Right. So on the inside, we're working in the 3rd floor, as you all may recall, trying to get it finished up. The upper right-hand corner shows the kitchen pass-through. where we've basically re-sheet rocked this floor, you may recall. So we have that in progress, and that opening will get a coiling door in front of it with a counter to go from the cafe room adjacent to the kitchen itself. So that's the room I keep saying I was most concerned about. It was that change order work that we added to make sure we get the kitchen roughed in. The 3-bay sink is in there, but there's some grease trap plumbing that we have to do. There's some kitchen hood duct that gets welded. There's equipment on the roof. So there's some extensive rough-in for just a small footprint of a room. So that will be the place that probably finishes last. The classrooms themselves in the corridors, so the classroom picture, the floor is in this particular room, it's been protected, it's painted. You can see how the window has some black on it. This was the EEI's process of how they were kind of containing the glass when they were removing the windows and dealing with the abatement and whatnot. So we've been working hand in hand with them, in the same spaces and whatnot. So the rooms are much brighter. You could see from last year's work, even because EEI did the majority of their work before us, right? The new lights are in there, new ceilings. So we're just really finishing up with painting and flooring and the new sheetrock. How the lower right is the corridor as you look down the hall. It's much brighter than it was before. So we're really working to get the interior, the rest of the flooring down, ceramic tile in the bath groups, finishing the kitchen, and any remaining just items that we might have as well. So the stairwells still have some work that remain in there regarding the new risers. One stairwell has those in, but we need to put the flooring, and then the second stairwell needs to get the new slanted risers put in. We also have the elevator work going on. So it's a busy place. It's a very busy place, and the next slide will show all the exterior work. You may remember we had a PR to improve the outside, and so it's been congested. In all honesty, as Alderman Klee is aware, it's been very congested with our guys trying to build a basketball court. We've got a roof replacement going on, extra dumpsters, trash chutes. We've had the glass window operation going on with Matt's team outside in their dumpsters. We've been trying to rip out bushes and hammer out ramps and put them back in. So we've been all over the place and causing some frustration for the neighbors. So we're pushing to get it complete and get out of everyone's hair is really the goal. So a few more tough weeks. It is busy, but you can see the roof replacement going on. Did have an episode with Monday night storm that came through Nashua that got some water in the building, and because it's in the process of being installed. So it's a ballasted roof that has rocks on the top, but we had to take the rocks off to put the new roof on and they replace it in sections, and they pin it down at night, but obviously it wasn't enough. And there was some water that got in, and so we've been chasing that down, and it's not going to hinder anything. It just gives us more work to do in the next couple of weeks here to get things fully cleaned up. So just an unfortunate incident that we're taking care of. So
And the cost is covered by insurance.
yeah, it's all in all, as I said, it's very busy there, but we're looking forward to getting towards the end and the finishes. There's some window shades for doors that have little windows in them, and that not shades on the outside windows. These are on the doors inside. The numbering of the windows, there's wall pads in the quiet room, toilet partitions. So there's a few more finishes that will continue to be going, but hopefully by next month we'll have some really nice looking pictures and be ready that last week of August. So same kind of scenario where that third week in August we're looking for the TCOs or final COs and final punch list, and everyone will move in and be ready.
The basketball court's a little bigger than it looks like. It looks like a foot square, but it's much bigger than that. And it's going to be surrounded by fence, high fence, so the ball won't go out in the street. Oh, yes, Alderman Klee.
Thank you so much, and Kathy, thank you for being so responsive when I send my emails out. Yeah, the residents there are very frustrated, and I know you're trying to stay on top of it, so I do appreciate that. And just more for the public, and I spoke to you before the meeting, the dumpsters, if possible, if they could get emptied more often, especially with this heat and the rain. They are throwing food in there, not just the which is, I think, leading to the massive amount of flies that are coming out. I was standing there and having to swat flies as I was talking to people. And those streets are so narrow that in my email that I sent to you, when someone was there, I couldn't get through. And finally, he moved and went around the circle and then didn't park next to somebody else. So they just really have to be mindful of when they're doing that, because the residents can't get in and out. And it becomes very, very frustrating. And I won't go into the early hours, but I think my next question is going to actually be for Alderman Dowd, or maybe it'll be a joint question. You talked to me about paving, and you said they can't happen. The city's doing it, but it can't happen until they're finished. Which streets exactly are going to be paved? Is it just Winter? Is
Winter
it
Street and
just-
part of Locust, and it will be, I'm not sure where it starts on Locust Street, but it goes all the way to Franklin Street. And their DPW is just waiting for everything to be cleared, no later than August 15th. They will go in and do the paving, and then they're all set to do the markings, the permanent markings. So they all know that it has to be finished before school starts.
And just, I'm just, and it's probably nothing that anybody can do here. I had two concerned people from Loft 34 that called and said that the things that they've been experiencing is the bus drop-off and so on. So wasn't quite understanding. They were saying that it was very difficult to get through the way that the bus drop-off is and so on. So I don't know if we've heard from anybody else that's done that, but Loft 34 obviously is across the street from the school. Is that going to change? Is that the same?
There's going to be more kids in the school and more buses, but they've got that all figured out, and we have just paved 2 of the parking lots for parking. So, and the traffic flow is going to be up to the,
Okay, for the Board of Ed people, just to let them know, there were some complaints. So if it's going to get even worse, just to kind of keep that in mind, and I can have these residents contact you if there's any other issues. So thank you.
anyone else? Okay, we're done with Harvey's presentation. Okay. Whoa. Sean, you had something on here, Franklin Street construction plaque?
Yes, so in
I
your
know.
package should be a sheet that looks like that with everybody's names on it. You can take a look at it and make sure your name appears the way you'd like it to. And hopefully it's in there.
Can you just pass it around and then we can
I
write
could.
on it?
I could. So I did some research. Basically, the Franklin Street project started in the fall of 2021. So there are members on here that are no longer on this committee, but they're on this plaque draft. They're looking at sometime in October to do the recommissioning of the school, and we'll come out with a date later.
John, do we have a preschool director that should be on here?
We could. I didn't think about putting her on there. There's actually a new one.
Right, but
There was one before, now we have a
there's
new
one before
right?
and then there's a new one, but given that, half the building is preschool, it feels like maybe,
That's why you got the list. Add the
Good
names.
idea. When it comes to you, if you could just write down.
okay.
Also include EEI this time, since they were a very, very large part of this project.
There's 2 T's in Matthew.
I didn't have room for the other T. Yeah, the cost extra.
All right, so we got that taken care of. Invoice approval.
Actually, we have to go back to Harvey for the PCOs.
Oh, I'm sorry, yes, we do. Skip right over that. We don't have that many, but
Just a few straightforward ones. So I do have one prime contract potential change order, number 17 for McCarthy Middle School. So again, just to remind everybody, so the PCO just kind of gives Harvey if approved by this committee, official approval to proceed without a scope work and get working with adding this scope into the project. So if you recall, so this, I think we did this over a year ago. When the McCarthy project first began, we ran into a lot of unforeseen material escalation across the entire market. So we did carry a budget within the existing GMP, which was approved by this committee. I believe we carried about roughly $1 million. We have about, so I've been kind of tracking these items. These are the remaining items that I've been tracking and should finalize the use of escalation. So kind of what we decided internally with the project team is to, when we do use allowances for the material escalation costs, that we document it in the form of a PCO for public record, just to be transparent of how the funds are being spent on the project. So this is to finalize the material escalation usage for the McCarthy Middle School. So again, it's just quantifying the difference between material costs at bid time and award and versus now. So the two items that are on this PCO are the Metro, it's from Metro Walls, and this is the escalation costs for the Rulon wood ceilings. And I believe, so I guess these are kind of located, I think there are some located in Area A, Jamie, and then these are typically located as you transition into the student commons areas in each wing, kind of around the mechanical space. So this covers the cost of the additional cost for that, and that is $11,020.00. And then the second item on this potential change or PCO is for Palmer Sicard, and they were our mechanical and plumbing contractor. Kind of a one unique way to avoid escalation costs for equipment and materials is typically on job sites, you order the materials and it's shipped to the site. But on a long-term project like this, you don't really have that luxury. So in order to lock in pricing, we order the material early and store it off-site or on-site in their possession to ensure that it's protected from the elements and that we can lock in the price. So the total added cost for Palmer and Sicard is $36,915.84.
I'll need a motion to approve the payment of PCO number 17 and the amount of $47,935.84. And this is coming out of the account that was already in place, so we are, yes.
I'll make the motion.
Okay. Heather Raymond made the motion. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, motion carries.
Thank you. Moving over to Maine Dunstable, this is PCO number 1. This is an item that Alderman Dowd mentioned earlier. This is for the Child Guard laminated security glazing. So we kind of priced out two different options. One option was to install we had some new windows and some retrofit windows. So we priced out installing the new windows and the retrofits, and then putting a laminated, I guess, forced entry resistant film on the glass. And then we priced it out, well, what if we just replaced those retrofit units with entirely brand new units? And the pricing was very favorable. So that's what I'm presenting here. So this is for Maine Dunstable. This is the cost associated with changing all of the lower level glass sections to this Child Guard insulated laminated glass throughout the entire school on the first level. And this is, if approved, this PCO is a total amount added of $69,719.48.
I'll need a motion to approve PCO number 1 for the Maine Dunstable Elementary School. Sure. Although we usually do the motion first.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, so PCO number 1, this is an award to put in the Child trail guard laminated security glazing in the amount of $69,719.48 at Maine Dunstable to Portland Glass. All right, Alderman Wiltshire made the motion. Discussion? Yes.
So this is the bulletproof glass glazing?
Correct.
So my question is, if students or teachers want to break through the glass to get out of the building, would that be possible? I'm assuming if bullets can't get through, people can't get out.
That's, you want to cover that, or Jamie?
It's bullet resistant glazing, bulletproof, and I know it sounds like there's not a difference, but there is. And it's probably a level 3 is what we specify, so it will be challenging. The glass is, the different levels represent the amount of time it takes to get through or break through a piece of glass. Level 3 is a pretty high quality, but it will take time to get through it. So it will be, if they need to get out that way for some reason, unbeknownst, it would take some time to get through, I guess.
I'm guessing if they needed to get out through that window, that the people on the outside would be the ones that would be giving them the, and trust me, if the fire department wants to get through it, they'll get through it. But typically, normally, they'd be going out through doors. But this is, and the windows, I think the new ones aren't that big, are they?
Yeah, it's an awning window, and it's,
Yeah,
you know,
so-
there is a window, operable window in there. It's just not large enough to really be an egress window, and it's not required to be an egress window by code. So,
Sullivan?
Thank you very much. I noticed here that the subtotal for the material is 66,700. And then below that, there are 4 line items here for performance and payment bond, software license, general liability, and then a CM fee. I don't recall ever seeing those items listed. It adds about 5% to the total. Is that just for Portland Glass, or is that for everything we do?
No, so when there is a PCO, so when there is truly an added scope, when it's a change order, per the contract with Harvey and the Nashua School District, these are the allowable markups and fee, et cetera, that get added onto those items. Typically, when we can cover it with an allowance, you won't see those items
Okay.
because it's already in the budget.
Oh, I see.
We asked them to do more work. It cost us a little more money to.
Okay.
Right, so like the escalation that you just reviewed had none of those line items in there because it's pre-approved budget
I
from the
understand.
GMP.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, all in favor? Somebody make that motion? Yes. That was Alderman Wiltshire made the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
The next item is also for Maine Dunstable, and this is prime potential change order number 2 for the metal lockers and cubbies. So Jamie, feel free to jump in if I botch any of this, but in the original design at both schools, in the upper levels of the classroom wings, we were going to provide new closed-face lockers, ADA double stacked, similar to what we've done in all of the previous schools. At the lower level, we were going to be refurbishing and reusing the existing open-face cubbies that are in the school now. So I don't know if you've been through either school, that a lot of different colors, some of them are in different shape, some of them are tougher shape. So the original design was we were going to kind of parse through what we had on site and reuse the lockers that were in the best shape and incorporate those back into place in the lower levels with Jamie's design, kind of working through the submittal process and kind of figuring out how to like parge those back together. As part of the GMP, we had eliminated the closed face lockers as a deferred scope item to discuss at a later date. After doing the locker counts and reviewing everything that was on site, we found that we either didn't have enough open face cubbies for the lower levels to complete the install, or some of them just were outright just unusable. So we put together a PCO using escalation, which was built into the budget, to say, let's just buy the new lockers for the upper level as designed, and then buy brand-new open-faced metal cubbies for the lower level. So using escalation funds approved in the GMP, we're presenting tonight at no added cost to the project to get all new lockers and cubbies for each school. So this PCO is for Maine Dunstable. So if there's any questions on that.
So, and these are in line with what the principals and the superintendent wanted. And the reason for the open lockers or for the lower grades, first through third, because they just throw their stuff in there. We don't want them having to figure out how to open a locker.
And one of the important aspects of getting this approved tonight is that we'd be able to have the lockers installed in the phase that's turned over in February. So each phase would kind of have some equity, and we wouldn't have to wait until the end. So we decided this is a good way to spend our escalation funds on this project for each of the projects, and kind of incorporate that into kind of give a more finished look in the spaces. So if approved, this PCO for total amount for brand new lockers, upper and lower, it's using escalation funds for total value of $143,865.00.
Okay, so I'll need a motion to approve PCO number 2 for the Maine Dunstable School for lockers and cubbies to J. Solis and Sons of Walnut Hill Park, Woburn, Mass, in the amount of $143,865. Alderman Sullivan made the motion. Any discussion? Mrs. Gilio?
I think I might have just missed something, but we are not reusing the cubbies, you're buying new cubbies?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. I thought there was some discussion about using the ones that were already there. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, didn't look like that was going to not look good right from the get-go. Okay. They've been beat up over the years since my kids were there, and I don't know, that's quite a few years ago. All right, any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Thank you. Moving over to Birch Hill, so this is PCO number 1. This is for the Child Guard laminated security glazing at that school. If approved, this PCO has a value of $68,558.25.
Okay, there is a slight price difference, right?
Correct.
So this is PCO number 1 for Birch Hill Elementary School. Need a motion to approve this to Portland Glass in the amount of $68,558.25.
I'll make the motion.
Freeman? Discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
PCO number 2 for Birch Hill. This is for the metal lockers, the new metal lockers and cubbies at that school. And this is a total, if approved, approval to use escalation allowance for total amount of $141,545.00.
So need a motion to approve PCO number 2 for metal lockers and cubbies at Birch Hill Elementary School to Solis and Sons using escalation funds in the amount of $141,545.
I'll make that motion.
Julio made the motion. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
All right. Now invoices.
Good evening again. So I'll read from the agenda. I first have 2 invoices for Energy Efficient Inc., one for Birch Hill, one for Maine Dunstable, totaling $300,000 even. We have 4 invoices from Harriman for work at McCarthy Middle School, Franklin Street, Birch Hill, and Maine Dunstable Elementary Schools. Those total $37,802.81. We have 5 invoices from Harvey for work at Pennachuck, McCarthy Middle Schools, Franklin Street, Birch Hill, and Maine Dunstable Elementary Schools, totaling $4,431,943.32. 1 invoice from Hayner Swanson for work at Brian McCarthy. That's for the aforementioned SWEP monitoring that they're doing. That's for $878.22. 1 invoice from John Turner Consulting, our testing agent, for work at Franklin Street, totaling $1,257. 1 invoice from Lewis Cody, Inc., for work at Franklin Street. That is a rigging company. They had to move because the elevator is out of service, they had to manhandle, move the new kitchen hood up through the outside stairs, and it's quite a task. So they earned every penny of their $3,850. NEDI, Northeast Digital, they're providing the panels. So instead of projection systems, we're doing panels at the 2 elementary schools. For Birch Hill, Maine Dunstable, totaling $67,068. Page Street Storage, those are for the ground storage units. You'll see at both of the elementary schools. 3 invoices totaling $295. Turner Building Science Design, that's a commissioning agent for work at McCarthy Middle School, totaling $3,941.75. And finally, H.L. Turner Group for work on the security upgrade project. They finalized their designs at $16,642.50. So by school, the totals are Franklin Street, $438,761.81. For the middle school project, $3,406,872.26. For Birch Hill and Maine Dunstable, $1,001,402.03. And for the security vestibule project, $16,642.50. All those total to $4,863,678.60.
Okay, if there are no individual questions on any individual invoices, I'd like a motion to approve the Franklin Street invoices for $438,761.81. The middle school project invoices for $3,406,872.26. And Birch Hill, Maine Dunstable invoices for $1,001,402.03. And security vestibule, $16,642.50. For total invoices to be covered this evening, $4,863,678.60. So moved by Alderman Wiltshire. Any discussion? I always wonder who charges the 3 cents. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right. Comments by committee members? Okay, none. Non-public, we don't need. Next meeting is August 24th, 7 PM, right here. Oh,
I
Ms.
just have a
Freeman.
question about that. So August 24th is Nashua Goes Back to School Night from 5 to 6:30 at the library. Some of us have to be there because we have kids who have to be there because they're working it, including you. Do we typically have enough time to make it back?
30.
I know it goes to 6:30, but people actually,
It changes to 7:30, is that amenable to everyone? Hey,
sorry.
don't worry, I'd get beat up if I wasn't there. Another story. All right, if there's nothing else, do I hear a motion? Motion is to adjourn. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We're adjourned at 8:10.